What up? Another episode of Fallen Angels and the End of Black Celebrities and Hollywood. And we're going to take a trip into the past and we're going to take a look at where Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston pissed off the industry and things went left. The industry bent over as far as talent, superstars, megastars. We know that Michael Jackson was the king and Whitney Houston was the queen. We're just talking about music in general. But the question is, were they the kings by talent or were they by choice? Were they selected? Were they chosen? Well, we all know that both of them was given to the industry by their parents and by their family. But two things can be true. And one thing they say is that when you sign that deal, some people might call it when you sell your soul, whatever the situation is, it's all conspiracy. One thing that is said that once it's sold, you cannot get it back because somebody has the receipt. That's what's sad. But also, we know sometimes it is a thing called bad luck. And maybe some things could just be a coincidence. But we just gonna take a look at how they pissed off the industry and things went left. AKA, they just had bad luck. But we also gonna take a look at how they was running the whole time. They was running and they was trying to tell us something, but we didn't get it. A lot of people don't know Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson. They was tight from a long time ago. Also watching this, I was able to, just analyze and going back into the past. I'm seeing like a lot of things that's going on now they was doing back then, y'all. As you see, they was marketing Whitney Houston kind of masculine and Michael feminine. As we nowadays we would say that Whitney Houston looks like a transgender, and some would say Michael Jackson looked like he is gay. But even though we all grew up to their music, we looked at them as straight, and that's not my point. My point is, you know, these are marketing schemes these people were using a long time ago. I'm gonna make a point to show you how the industry is always the industry, always have, always will be. It's just that we gotta remember at this time, R&B was the biggest music on the planet. Get it? AKA black people singing their ass off and performing and dancing and choreography, entertaining was at the highest level in the 80s. And I speak about how the 80s was also one of the black community's highest level of success. And it also was the highest level of black celebrities in entertainment with names such as Eddie Murphy, Mike Tyson, y'all know the rest, Michael Jordan, and so on and so forth. But anyway, the industry is the industry. And these are two people that were always in the industry. Their parents were affiliated. Their parents actually gave them when they were young. We know Michael Jackson was down with the industry when he was young. We know that his group was manufactured because I spoke about this before. When you go back into the past and you study these times of black people, was a thing called poverty, the ghetto, poor living. You got to remember, when people had a lot of kids back then, it was a major, major struggle. Being poor back then was very big in the black community for people who had a lot of children because a lot of people did not believe in going to the welfare system. So this is around a time when a lot of parents started grooming their children at the same time perfecting their talents and getting them into entertainment, singing, sports, a lot of things. But mainly this was a time of entertainment where people like Michael Jackson was growing up. And don't forget, keep in mind, Michael Jackson always loved James Brown. But back to Whitney. This is Whitney and Clyde Davis. This is the man that discovered her. This is the man that signed her. It's the man that also brought you people like Puff Daddy and a whole lot of others. Also, best friends with Mr. Quincy Jones. So I'm just showing you how all of this is related because some people don't understand the whole industry is related. They are all a big family. They are all a phone call away. And the things that's going on now always went on. So you got to keep in mind the people that's always been connected. Right here, Michael Jackson, Quincy Jones, Whitney Houston, Clyde Davis. But anyway, this when she signed the deal. This when Whitney Houston was green. I think it was said she was singing in the church. Long story short, her mother, her family, her aunts, and Dionne Warwick, things like they had an industry. So this is just the humble beginnings of Whitney, and you could see how things started off, and you could see who she was doing business with. You also will see they made a movie about Whitney, and this is her and Clyde Davis in the movie. But Clyde, he watched Whitney grow into a woman. I'm pretty sure he was a mentor. I'm pretty sure he groomed her. And it's a lot of different things going on that I'm not going to speak on in this, but when you look at Whitney right here, you'll see she looked like RuPaul. My point is, these guys, that's the type of stuff they were into. Clyde Davis already admitted about his sexuality. He is bisexual, but I'm just looking at how they was strategically marketing people to look a certain way, and they would say just the look you need to, be famous. At this time they also was discriminating on bigger women. But I'm just throwing that sidebar out there to just look at the pattern of people like Clyde Davis. But anyway, he made her a star. And that's my point, y'all. These are the questions we have to ask, y'all, because we don't want to admit, I'm not saying me, but a lot of people, are stars selected or are they really picked off their talent? Have we not heard about how certain things like Star Search and American Idol and all these things are rigged, like how people that's supposed to win don't win? My point is, did Whitney make it in the game off her talent, or was she selected and picked? Not saying she ain't had no talent, because we already know she had talent to sing her ass off. But my point is, we know it's a million Whitneys right now in America right now. It's just that they don't get the opportunity. But she got the opportunity because of her family. So like I said, could have been planned for Whitney to come into the game when she was young, like 7, That's my point, man. Industry babies. Same thing like Brandy. I'm going to get to her and rayj. This is why these people are different. The point of the matter is, he made her a star. And a lot of people don't know, Whitney Houston has sold over 200 million records worldwide, becoming one of the best-selling music artists in history. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. In my opinion, I'm pretty sure she sold way more than that. Because we know she sold a lot when she was living. And being that she is dead, she's going to continue to sell every single day. And we all know you might hear her song almost every day. If you might not listen to the radio, but you might hear it in a commercial, because they play it in Applebee commercial right now. You also will definitely hear a Whitney Houston song if you go into a store, like a supermarket or certain places, a mall, elevator music. Y'all know that. But my point is this. Another thing is, which I'm not going to get into right now, is we don't know who's getting paid off her music. But anyway, as you see, Clyde Davis and Whitney always been around. And as you see Clyde Davis with her mom or her aunt, somebody, I know that's her family member. I don't want to be wrong. I think that's her mother, though. But the point is, she always been an industry baby, because we know what? Whitney didn't have a childhood just like Michael Jackson. And that is the same thing we'll see with all of these industry plants. Not just industry plants, but they are industry people, period, because they're part of the family. Is it not the same with Beyonce? They all come in as kids, and after that, they never have a life. And it's all about the music. And don't forget, this is how the rich get richer. They work people to death. They work them in the ground. And it's people like Clyde Davis that don't have to do nothing but just cut checks and collect money. But long story short, industry. Was Bobby Brown selected for Whitney Houston? We know Bobby was he was the heartthrob of his day, but he also was supposed to be the bad boy. And then you're also going to see this pattern of, it seemed like whenever a female celebrity makes it to a high level, somehow she always gets with a knucklehead. Somehow, some way. The same pattern always happens, if y'all know what I'm talking about. But also, you're going to see a thing they do is slander these people after they're dead already. We're going to get into that too. Because let's not forget, since Whitney Houston has been dead, Bobby Brown has been going around saying that she was the one that put him on the drugs. And we know when she was living, that was not the narrative. But anyway, was Bobby Brown put on Whitney Houston? Because we do know about these celebrity arranged situations. Did Clyde Davis send him to him in the beginning? Who knows? But the point is, we know Bobby Brown fell off a long time ago. And we know he rolled her career most of the time, the whole time. Because we all know that Bobby Brown was on them drugs. And Bobby Brown knew to look at that camera. And we're not going to get into how their daughter is dead, Bobby Christina. And we're not going to get into how his son, Bobby Brown Jr. is dead. The point of the matter is, maybe it's just bad luck. Because like I said, sometimes things just go left. Maybe it's bad luck. Maybe these people are just black clouds. But the point is, some things can be true. That all this could have been a plot. And what I mean is, was it ever meant for Whitney to become a superstar, get a whole lot of money, make hundreds of millions, and get to collect her money in the end and enjoy her funds, her finances? Or do these people, this is how I think, do these people strategically pick people as kids and teenagers, knowing one day something weird might happen and they're going to end up with all the money? I'm just reaching. But the point is, we know about arranged celebrity marriages. Was Bobby Brown always sent to watch Whitney? And was it always the design from the beginning for Whitney always to be watched? Whitney always really just meant to sing, tour, make money, generate revenue, and that's that. And maybe when she was not producer no more, or maybe when she started to wake up, certain people that wanted her gone. Maybe. I'm just reaching. But I do know one thing. Ray J and Whitney was together in the end. And a lot of people felt like that was weird. This is a sidebar too. Whitney also, Sierra looked like she could be Whitney Houston's daughter, or, tell the truth. But anyway, Ray J, we're going to get back to him because some people feel like he's a shady character. He plays a role in a lot of stuff. But my point about Ray J is he's an industry plant, meaning he's an industry baby, and we're going to get back to him. But back to Whitney, everybody know she been trying to get right. She been trying to get right for a long time, and we know she will backtrack a lot. Another thing we have to see and understand is when we look back, we'll see that when you really, really look at it, nobody really, really tried to help Whitney. Nobody really stuck their neck out for her. Nobody really tried to help her. But this is where Whitney went to get baptized in the Jordan River. For those who know about the Jordan River, it is mentioned in the book, and it is said that is the river where a man got baptized at. And it's supposed to be where holy water at. Long story short, Whitney and Bobby made that move. But Whitney definitely made that move. And she was fighting them demons. She was fighting them demons her whole career because she was in the industry. This is why I was trying to tell people, sometimes you could be in the game and sign something you don't even know what you signed. You could be in too deep. You could start out good, innocent, green. Then everything goes so fast. The money come, friends come, opportunities come. Everything going so fast, so fast, so fast. Then by the time you realize, you look up and you realize you in some, you know what? That happens for a lot of people. And my point is this is the This is the real question. This the question I'm gonna ask about Whitney right now. Did her family know what time it was? What I mean is that did her family know all the things that Whitney was gonna have to do to get to where she was at? Did they know she was gonna have to maybe sleep with certain people, or do you get it? Because you gotta remember back in them days, they would sell kids out for money. Them people that was from a time of the 50s, 60s, and 70s and those black struggles, and when it came to fame and celebrity status and wanting to be rich and make it out the ghetto and sustain being rich, they would do anything back then. Some would call them the upper echelon of black people. Some would call them coons and sellouts. But one thing I do know, it was a lot of people back then that would sell their kids out. So that's why I'm saying, were they really watching out for Whitney? Because we know it all ended bad for her. But the point is, look, we're going to cruise right now because she did go to the Jordan River to get baptized, which means she was trying to clean up. She was trying to get right. But what happened? All she did was get bashed, right? They always kept reminding us on how Whitney Houston was a crackhead. She was a fiend. They always gave us bad press. This stuff at the time never went viral, but we did see it on the TV show that she did, that, you know, the reality TV show she had. But the key thing we're going to be speaking about right now is this is the proof that Whitney was always trying to get right, and she was always running. She was always running. And we also know she was always trying to do the right thing. But we also know when you have an addiction, you need help. So the question is, who really was trying to help her? That's the question. But anyway, I could have sworn there was a time where they said Whitney Houston was cleaned up. But let's go to Michael Jackson. And we all know Michael Jackson started as a kid. We also heard about how Joe Jackson would bring his kids around these executives and things of that nature when they were young. They industry babies. So one thing we have to understand that Michael Jackson was so deep in the game, he never will be able to leave because he's industry. That's his family. That's who he is. That's who he was. And when Joe was whipping their ass and spanking them, Joe was really breaking them and preparing them for what was to come. But they had no clue. And they were sold out too. If you don't understand that Michael Jackson was sold when he was young, then you just don't get it. But I'm just reaching because I like to make stuff up. But like I said, now you see that they both got things in common. And you're starting to see the pattern, especially how it was going down back in the day. Nowadays it's switched. But we all know that Michael Jackson was the king of pop. And we know when it comes to selling records, nobody is topping Michael Jackson. Jackson is one of the best-selling music artists in history with over 1 billion records sold worldwide. I wonder how many he sold before he died, and I wonder how many he sold after he died. And then I'm nosy, so I wonder who getting paid off all of this. But anyway, Michael Jackson went to a whole nother level when he got with Quincy Jones. And this is when he made the album Thriller. And this is when he racked up at the Grammys. In entertainment world, celebrity world, this is when Michael Jackson became a god. And Quincy Jones went to a whole nother level, even though he was already one of the godfathers of the industry. A lot of people do not understand the power that Quincy Jones has, the power he had, and the power he will always have, because Quincy Jones has been in the industry since the early 1900s, since jazz, like the 19 teens, something like that, early 20s. Then you're going to notice something else, y'all. Y'all notice how all of the talented artists, all of the top celebrities, all of the top people are gone. And there's certain people, they just real healthy. But anyway, Quincy Jones was the man. He's still a man. And this when Michael Jackson and him were on top of the world. You also got to remember, y'all, you might as well say this is when Michael Jackson became the king of pop. And we always knew he was going, you know, blow up. Well, I didn't know because I wasn't born back then, when, but I'm just saying people always knew he was going to blow up and be in the front. But I don't think nobody knew he was going to go to this level. And a lot of people got to understand now, this is when I was a kid, and I remember this. So I understand when this man had influence over the whole world. I'm talking about from young people to old people, white people, black people, thugs, whoever you want to call it. Everybody loved Michael Jackson. But you're also going to see at the end, nobody was there for Michael Jackson. Just to show you again, Quincy Jones, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, family. And Quincy Jones has always been involved with Michael. But you're also going to see since Michael Jackson passed away, Quincy Jones has bashed Michael. And we also heard a lot of things about Quincy Jones, but that's for another discussion. But you can see this around the time when they shot the Bad video in New York City. But like I said, the agendas that we see today with Lil Nas X and things like that, when you pay attention, we'll clearly see they always existed. But anyway, I know I'll go off topic. But we got to understand Michael Jackson was that dude. He was the man. And we also not going to forget Michael Jackson was playing the game. And Michael Jackson was about that fame. Michael Jackson was about that clout, riches, being on top of the world and everything that come with it. Now, as far as the allegations on Michael Jackson, that's a whole nother topic. But the point is, he was a star and he was on top of the world. But something happened, and we're going to take a look at how it was something that Michael Jackson did and Whitney Houston did that made things go left. Now, one of the things, now mind you, we go back to Whitney, this is when she was already trying to get away from the industry. So you got to remember, according to the industry, they don't have time for none of this. They need you to sing certain songs. They need you to work. They need you to go on tour. They don't want to hear about none of this. So keep that in mind, that she was trying to get away, but I don't think she knew how. And same thing with Michael Jackson. We're going to get into that. But at this point, he was on top of the world. But it's something he did when things went left somewhere down the line. And what I mean is that he caught bad luck. And little did Michael Jackson know that after James Brown died, he was going to die the next year. Same way Whitney didn't know after Michael, she was going to die 3 years later. And you got to keep in mind that Michael Jackson always loved James Brown. As you see right here by the Daily News, Michael Jackson's grim fascination with death, odd 5-hour vigil over James Brown. As you see, the Daily News made a mockery of it. Maybe that's just how much love Michael Jackson had for James Brown. He stood up for 5 years. Or maybe Michael Jackson could have been that weird. Anyway, let's move on. Because these two industry babies grew up to be adults. But one thing we're going to see is that they never could get right. Because we now can clearly see, y'all, how the industry turned people into weirdos. And what I mean is, a lot of the weirdness came from people not knowing who they are and what they're supposed to be doing and where they're supposed to go in life. They didn't know who they were. Because they understood that they were bigger than those celebrities. Okay, they understood that when they went outside and was on the stage, they were the celebrities. But when they looked around, they couldn't even go outside and buy themselves nothing from the store. They were just prisoners of their fame with a lot of people controlling them and telling them what to do and what they can't do. And they've been hearing that since they were kids. But one thing is, once they became adults, it's like they wouldn't let them live. And here we see Michael Jackson when he became a Muslim. A lot of people don't know Michael Jackson became a Muslim. This also shows what Michael Jackson was running. He was running from the industry at this time. He had a little beef. A lot of us already heard about how he had rights to the Beatles music and a whole lot of other catalogs, a whole lot of masters. And at this time, Michael Jackson was running, dealing with a lot of slander. He was calling them wacko jacko. A lot of stuff was going on. This is the time when Michael Jackson had fell out with the industry. And we're going to get into some other things he did. So we see two things. We see a pattern. She went to Israel. And we see that Michael Jackson, he went to Mecca. And whether any of it was sincere, I do not know. But the point is, Michael Jackson was trying to escape the industry, and he was doing a whole lot of other things. But it's going to be something he did that really pissed people off. And I'm talking about the industry. And it's something they both did, and we're going to talk about it. And like I said, one thing about the industry, once you in, you in. They should already know that. That's like with a gang, a fraternity. Anything you take an oath, anything you sign a contract with, when you don't fulfill your obligations, it's going to be trouble. And I'm not saying that had nothing to do with nothing, but sometimes when you go against an oath or you go against a contract, you just get bad luck. Like you could be married and go against the grain and have bad luck. You know, it's called getting caught cheating. That's simple. But Michael Jackson was down with the industry from a kid, and he did play the industry games. And another thing we're going to talk about, I'm going to show y'all how Kanye West tried to pull one of Michael Jackson's tactics, and it's called the race game. And you know, I tell y'all about that for those who listen to For No Fame, my channel. I tell y'all about how whenever black people don't get their way when it comes to money, they use the black card, aka racism. But when they get their money, they go back to their white friends again. But it was something that Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston did, and now we're going to get into it. Because this what Whitney did. A lot of y'all know, some don't, some forgot, but let's look. When Whitney Houston tried to give Brandy a letter in front of Clive Davis, to this day, nobody knows what was on the letter. People have asked Brandy what was on the letter. She has not said what was on that letter. And do not forget that Brandy and Monica was also handpicked by Mr. Clive Davis, the same exact way Whitney Houston was when she was their age. And actually, Brandy and Monica was handpicked even younger. This is why Monica's first song, one of her first hits, was Just One of Those Days, that some people feel like she was singing about a you know what. You know that time of the month where girls have their little stuff down there. They say that's what Monica was singing about because she was signed to Arista Records, Clive Davis, and maybe they had her sing that song. And she was young. But anyway, back to this. Also, don't forget, the beef between Monica and Brandy was always staged because it was a marketing plan. People like Clive Davis and Quincy Jones, they feel like they're a marketing genius. And that's why I'm also going to get into the East Coast, West Coast beef. I'm going to show you all the relations. But a lot of y'all already know. They always understood controversy sells. They also understand it's a program. You also have to understand it's only with so high you're going to go, because certain people's job is to be the entertainment. Don't be too smart. Sing, dance. You take what we give you, shut up, and that's it. When they try to do too much and they stop smiling and dancing, sometimes they have bad luck. Because like I said, this is when Whitney gave Brandy that letter in front of Clive Davis and told her to read it when she get a chance. And Clive Davis just sat there and went on with the show. He looked, and to this day, nobody knows. But something I want y'all to peep. Look at the date. It's February 9th, 2012. 3 days after this, Whitney Houston called bad luck. Or should I say 2 days after that? February 9th, February 11th. 9th, 11th. She died 2 days later. And you know how they say she died? It was said that Whitney Houston allegedly died from an overdose. Allegedly drugging too much. And it is said that she was at Clive Davis' Grammy party. But I don't want to be correct. I'm not sure. But it was said that the party went on while Whitney Houston was passed out in the room, in a tub, something like that. They said the word was Whitney was gone, and they said the party kept going. And just so happened it was Clive Davis' party. And they said the party was jumping. Keep in mind about the party, because the party where everything go down. So don't forget, keep in mind, Whitney, she checked out at Clive party. You know, the Grammy party. Now you see what people like Jay-Z get the Rock Nation brunch from every time it's time for Grammys and certain award events. They get it from these people. But anyway, just so happened, 2 days after this, Whitney Houston OD'd. And it got real messy. They say this was Whitney Houston's last meal, according to TMZ. We also gonna see in Whitney Houston's last days, there was nobody there for her. And also, it's just amazing how that room stayed so nasty for people to take all them pictures, and they just got out. But anyway, did Whitney perform at Clive's party before she died? Houston was 49 when she was found dead in a tub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. She'd been in rehearsals to perform at Clive's pre-Grammy party that weekend, but she never made it. Her last public performance was an impromptu rendition of Jesus Loves Me at Kelly Price's pre-Grammy celebration. Pardon me, y'all, because I'm tripping off as I'm reading it. Because I didn't know that she was supposed to perform at the party. She had already rehearsed. And she also was supposed to sing a song dealing with Jesus. Now, mind you, we also know that she already went to try to get baptized. She went to the Jordan River, which shows us that she was trying to get right. But obviously, it was very hard for her to get right. And I'm pretty sure when you always got to sing and you always got to be around the parties and you always got to be around the industry, you always got people around you offering you stuff and not looking out for you, saying, nah, go home, chill out. It's probably always easy to turn up when you're Whitney Houston. You got a lot of money. But anyway, we'll see. We could clearly see in the last day, Whitney was on her own. And so was Michael Jackson. So as we see, what about Whitney, y'all? In the beginning, her family brought her to Clive to sign the contract. Her family was happy. Everybody was around her. But we see in the last day, Whitney was by herself. And like I said, don't forget, when Whitney was passed out, the party was still going on. Don't forget that. But let's get back to Michael Jackson. Because when he pissed off the industry, they was calling him Wacko Jacko. Also, look down and you will see that this article is $2,000. Actually, $2,610 for this particular newspaper if you want to purchase it. But this is what Michael Jackson did when he pissed the industry off. A lot of y'all know this. Michael Jackson left Sony owning 50% of their catalog. He also tells Mariah's secret with Sony executive. My point is, Michael Jackson started spilling the beans. He started going on rants. See what Kanye West get it from? Michael Jackson wasn't having his way with the industry. So Michael Jackson started going on rants. He felt like they was trying to sabotage him. Whether they was or they wasn't, I don't know. Whether he had a personal beef, I don't know. But one thing I do know, when Michael Jackson started going against the industry, he was going against his family, he was going against the grain, and he was headed nowhere fast. And this was all about money. To be honest with you, it was all about money. Because when Michael Jackson went on the campaign against Tommy Mottola and was calling him the devil, some people feel like this is when he signed this when he signed this deal. It's called checking out. And it's just a conspiracy. It's not a fact at all. And nobody cares because Michael's gone. But the thing about the whole thing is Michael Jackson been eating off of Sony his whole career. So Tommy Mottola wasn't the devil before. But we're going to take a look at how Tommy Mottola became the devil to Michael Jackson. Also, don't forget, Tommy Mottola is behind a lot of your favorite rap artists. But we neither here nor there. My point is, the industry is the industry, whether it's R&B, rock and roll, hip-hop, gospel music, it doesn't matter. It's all the same pyramid. But let's take a look at something. Because Michael Jackson started going on the campaign, and that's where things went left. According to sources close to the album, Sony spent $30 million to make Invincible. Stop right there. Do you see how much money Sony put behind Michael Jackson? Dudes better get $1 million to make an album now, y'all. This man was getting $25 million. $25 million to make an album. Plus, don't forget, y'all. Pardon me. $30 million for the album, $25 million to promote it. So altogether, that's $55 million for one album pushed out by one label. So you can clearly see Sony, Tommy Mottola was giving him the bag and pushing the bag behind him. But for some reason, maybe it didn't play out the way it was supposed to. Maybe Michael Jackson was flopping. Because we do got to remember, y'all, this is one thing people got to remember. After those allegations on Michael Jackson with that pedophilia stuff, he was flopping, y'all. Because a lot of people stopped dealing with his music after that. But people forget that. So I'm just saying, I'm talking about these things, not to say this happened or that happened, what's right, what was wrong, who was right. I'm not co-signing nobody, no side. My thing is, I'm just talking about it because two things could be right. It could be a conspiracy. It could be bad luck. But it could be a whole lot of other things. And that's why I just put a number on it and just said two. But really, it's a whole lot of things going on. Because I don't want to just make stuff up, but Michael Jackson was naive. And it looked to me like he was really trying to run, because we got to understand, Michael Jackson know he signed that deal. He know he sold his soul. Ain't no way in hell Michael Jackson was ever going to get out of that deal. Remember when we heard about Dave Chappelle? What Dave Chappelle said, y'all, they was trying to give him what, y'all, 50 million, right? Well, you can clearly see right here, they was putting 50 million behind Michael Jackson a long time ago. And Michael Jackson was cool with that. He was used to that. Because he liked to be Michael Jackson, the god of the industry and the music world. But the point is, they gave him the money. They say that it was 25 million to promote it, and only 2 singles and 1 video were released. However, and while Jackson did perform 2 high-profile anniversary concerts in September, they were later televised. But the point is, look, check it out. They say he did not tour to support the album. So the point, look, I don't want to keep being repetitive, y'all. So y'all got to pardon me. But I'm tripping off this whole thing because I did not know Michael Jackson had all this money behind him with this album. And as you see clearly, he did not tour to promote the album. He was doing other tours that he was getting paid off of already instead of promoting the album. Everybody knows when you drop an album, you have to promote the album. But anyway, you see MTV was covering this. This was main news. So it was key things adding up. Michael Jackson had money, and this money was debt because the money was already put on the Invincible album, and the album was flopping because of the allegations. So this is when Michael Jackson started campaigning, and he got with Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. But little did he know that Al Sharpton was going to turn his back on him. Check this out. Michael Jackson shocks Al Sharpton by calling Tommy Mottola a racist. Singer accuses Sony Music chairman of conspiring against black artists. Now you clearly see Michael Jackson started using the race card after the 55 million was already put on the album and he realized things wasn't going too good. He tried to say they wasn't promoting the album, but you clearly could see he did not tour to support the album neither. So maybe two things are right, and maybe they both was not supporting the album. Another thing I want y'all to see. Michael Jackson, Al Sharpton, James Brown. It was also said that Al Sharpton used to spy on James Brown. Another thing I'm proving to y'all, Al Sharpton always been in the industry. Now you see why he always around industry events and hip-hop events and things like that? It is also known that Al Sharpton was an informant for the FBI against the mob. But do you think he was only wearing wires against the mob? That's a whole nother topic. You also see Michael Jackson to the far right top with Johnny Cochran. We also going to learn and see how things got weird after Johnny Cochran died. But Al Sharpton, he'd been around for a long time, and he knew Michael Jackson since he was a boy. And Michael Jackson knew James Brown from when he was a boy. They all been around because I told y'all they family. So now you see why Michael Jackson was outside of James Brown's coffin for that long. And another thing I want y'all to keep in mind is Al Sharpton. Because Al Sharpton was the main one campaigning with Michael Jackson when he was going against Sony Records and Tommy Mottola. He perpetrated a fraud like he had Michael Jackson back. But actually, he was spying on him and gassing him up. Because look, when it was all said and done, Al Sharpton tried to play it off like he was shocked. He did not know that Michael Jackson was going to call Tommy Mottola racist. Then on top of that, take a look at what Al Sharpton said. Michael Jackson took on Sony Music chairman Tommy Mottola this past weekend, accusing the head of his record company of being a racist and part of a racist conspiracy against black artists. So as you see, this is Michael campaigning, and he was going hard. Look at Jesse Jackson's face, fam. Jesse Jackson, he know he don't want to be there. He also know that Michael Jackson is messing up. You also can see Al Sharpton looking at him like, you know you done fucked up, right, Mike? They know he's going too far. But also we got to think, are they there to spy on him? Are they there to watch him? Who knows? I also don't know who that woman is standing there. But that's a whole nother topic. Because let's look at how Al Sharpton turned his back on Michael Jackson after Michael Jackson went on the whole campaign. Look. This is Al Sharpton taking up for Tommy Mottola, the head of Sony Records, who Michael Jackson was beefing with. And let's not forget, Michael Jackson was using the race card to get out the deal. This is what Al Sharpton said. He was the first record executive to step up and offer to help us with respect. And as you see, Al Sharpton is basically talking about black people. And he's basically speaking about how Tommy Mottola was the first to stick his neck out for black people when it comes to corporate accountability. This is what Al Sharpton claims. I don't know if this is a fact, but we're just going to pay attention to this narrative. Sharpton told the Post, I have known Tommy for 15 or 20 years, and never once have I known him to say or do anything that would be considered racist. I didn't know that Michael planned to personally attack Tommy, but nobody tells Michael Jackson what to do. So as you see clearly, Al Sharpton is separating himself from Michael Jackson's comments. He is also taking up for Tommy Mottola, saying he is not the devil, he is not racist, and he known him for 15 or 20 years. Something like that. That's what he said. He said 15 or 20. He didn't say 50. No, he didn't say 15 to 20. He said 15 or 20. Long story short, Al Sharpton is the finesse king, and I'm going to be talking about him pretty soon. But anyway, these are the things that Michael Jackson did that pissed off the industry. Because Tommy Mottola is very big, and so is Sony Records. You also have to understand that Sony is tied in with the Japanese. Sony PlayStation, Sony TV, Sony technology. Y'all should already know that. So big business. They are the ones who've been cutting Michael Jackson the big checks the whole time, y'all. Y'all got to understand how all this worked. But magically, Michael Jackson was getting slandered. That's why if you, to this day, if you put in Wacko Jacko, this will come up, Michael Jackson. Wacko Jacko was also his name that was given to him by the powers that be when he got blackballed by the industry and when he was officially outcasted. And this is how he got casketed for real. Because after his shenanigans of, running around and going against the industry, Michael Jackson, I guess he got depressed and OD'd or got too much drugs from a doctor or something. I don't remember. But Michael Jackson, right after looking at James Brown a year later, he was in the ground. And keep in mind, y'all, don't forget, keep in mind, I want y'all to keep in mind, Usher was the one that did the singing at the funeral. And here you'll see Usher, Quincy Jones, and Oprah chilling. Mighty funny how Oprah made that documentary bashing Michael Jackson, didn't she? Y'all remember that HBO special, right? They remember when they say that Oprah fell on stage and it was Michael Jackson's spirit that made her fall? Remember that video? You also remember recently, Quincy Jones went on the campaign. He was bashing Michael Jackson, saying he was greedy. And we also seen what happened to Usher recently when they say Usher has herpes. So I already told y'all Usher's blackball, and maybe he wasn't qualified to be the next Michael Jackson. But we always going to see they was always trying to groom the next Michael Jackson, him, Chris Brown, and others. But that's another topic because we're going to see a pattern. And this is really what I meant when I said that two things can be true, because Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson kind of died similar. When they died looking like they was in a poor house or a poor situation. They died like they would look like they were struggling and they was poor. Michael Jackson looked like he died in a poor living room or, looked like a living room in the hood with old furniture, like he couldn't afford no new furniture. And Whitney died in a hotel. And all this is alleged because I wasn't there. I don't know. But it's just funny how the same exact things happened twice. They both had after pictures that circulated that they made them look like they were real poor and like they were drug heads, because it is said that Michael Jackson could not stop using his medicine. And they said this was the doctor that gave it to him. I think he's home now. But you can look at this man and just get an idea on what he about. Also, keep in mind, he's from Grenada. He's not from America. But that has nothing to do with it. Only thing you got to know is that face you see right there is the last face Michael Jackson saw before he left this earth. So like I said, it's kind of funny how a lot of this stuff just come in cycles. A lot of people thought the industry was just a word. It's a family. It's something deeper than what people can expect. It's control. Once you in, you in. And it's only one way out. And we see both of them try to change religion. Maybe the powers that be said, we know y'all full of shit. You ain't no Christian. You ain't no Muslim. We know y'all. Maybe. Or maybe when you sign that contract and you are worth a lot of money and you're not fulfilling it, maybe it's just certain things that come with it. Who knows? My point is just some things are always going to be unexplainable. And then some things could be right in your face. But Whitney and Bobby, that's a whole nother topic, because Bobby Brown is one of the biggest frauds of all time. You see him outside the funeral being fake. You see he has been trying to profit off of her death. But the main reason why I'm saying that, y'all, is because we also going to see that when Whitney was in her last days, Bobby Brown was not around. And she was with Ray J, but it was said that allegedly when she passed out in the hotel, Ray J was home. That's what they said. But one thing we know for sure is that there was nobody there to look out for Whitney. There's nobody there to knock the drugs out of hand. Nobody to tell her, let's go in the car and go get something to eat, or let's go somewhere. She was all on her own. Another thing, don't forget, that East Coast, West Coast beef, don't forget, Biggie died at that Vibe party. Don't forget that. And a lot of y'all should already know who's behind Vibe magazine. Salute to Quincy Jones and Clyde Davis. Last man standing. The official gatekeepers of the industry. The big homies. But look, Tupac, was he not messing with Quincy Jones' daughter? Biggie, was he not affiliated with Clyde Davis and Puffy? And I'm going to tell y'all something else. This is what I think. The whole time, Faith Evans was a plant too. Faith Evans was sent to Biggie to spy on him and watch him. That's my opinion. The same thing they did to Whitney with Bobby, they did it with Biggie and Faith. Because the whole thing was to get Biggie out of his element, aka the hood. It's just mighty funny too when you look at that Vibe magazine. Puffy looked like a snake in the background. Another thing is, you will see these are the magazines that were said to have started the East Coast, West Coast beef, and you will clearly see that Quincy Jones was covering both sides. See that? Got paid off everything. Got paid off the East Coast, West Coast beef. And Mr. Clyde Davis got paid off the dead artists and others. But the point is, do you see the game that was played? A lot of people said they felt like it was marketing. And then again, it was always said these were some two marketing musical genius. Could they have been that demonic to have plotted the East Coast, West Coast beef and a lot of other things for money? But it's mighty funny, y'all. All the good artists are gone, and they still here. And Quincy Jones is still bashing people. Now I got another sidebar for y'all. Remember this with Brandy? Brandy won't be charged in fatal crash. Grammy Award-winning singer and actress Brandy will not face charges in December 2006 car crash that killed a 38-year-old woman. Prosecutors said on Friday, citing insufficient evidence. And it was said that she was drunk driving, I think, but it's all alleged. As you see, she killed somebody and got away with it. Because the key thing they said was Grammy Award-winning singer. And don't forget who made her a Grammy Award-winning singer. That is Mr. Clyde Davis. And don't forget, I told you, the last thing Whitney did that we saw was she gave Brandy a note in front of Clyde Davis. Another thing we heard was one of the last people Whitney was chilling with before she died was rayj. And I think rayj is Brandy's brother. But anyway, I got something else funny for y'all. What if rayj was spying on Suge Knight the whole time? Because everybody know rayj was with Suge Knight and Death Row. And maybe he was spying on him the whole time. Because they all are affiliated. Brandy, rayj, industry babies, Clyde Davis, Quincy Jones, East Coast, West Coast beef, Vibe, East Coast, West Coast beef, East Coast, West Coast beef. Cashing out. So it's a lot of things that can be true. When I said two things can be true, that's a lie, because a whole lot of things can be true. It ain't even no number on it. One thing you got to understand, this is their playing field. So when I told you that they are the ones that said game over, it's game over. Because now music is going in another genre. The people with real talent, the greatest of the greater, are already gone. And the rest that are left are falling. And on that note, what's going on with Jamie Foxx? Because we haven't heard from him yet. And now you see why Pharrell is happy. And don't forget, after Biggie and Pac died, that's when they brought you Pharrell. And you see Pharrell been on top ever since, huh? We recently saw him in Paris just working a deal with Louis Vuitton. He is now the chairman, the CEO, whatever you want to call it. See how whoever they want to be on top shall be on top, and whoever they want to fall shall fall. Or maybe when you just get down with these people, you just get bad luck. Maybe you give these people, you go against the grain, and your whole life start crumbling. I don't know. That's why I'm trying to show people it ain't for everybody. But it don't even matter because it's all over with. Game over. Cash out. On that note, hopefully everybody enjoyed this episode. I know I might have made a few mistakes, but you got to remember, man, this is live. I'm also tripping off this as I'm going through it at the same time because it's taking me to a place and all this stuff is clear because there's no more secrets. These people are already ready to meet their maker. They're old. They've made all the money they've done. They have done everything in the world. But the point is, where these people sold out and where they handpicked and selected to end up exactly how it ended up. And what I mean is them becoming rich, selling billions, hundreds of millions of albums. They're gone and everybody else is rich. So was that the plan? And maybe that's how the industry works. Because remember, the industry creates artists and breaks artists. An industry creates a product, sells a product. And sometimes an industry will destroy that product and move on to something else. So on that note, I'm for no fame, and I'm out.